Welcome to another episode of the Edmonds Mom's Room podcast. I am Dr. Allison Feldt, owner of Body Motion Physical Therapy, and we have clinics in Poulsbo and Edmonds, Washington, and I am just happy to be talking with you guys today. Today we're talking about thriving through midlife. So the first thing I need you to know is I started this business because I was super passionate about helping women heal their bodies after they had babies so they could prevent things like hip replacements, knee replacements, really like any kind of joint dysfunction that they were experiencing in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Because I used to work with these women that they'd come to the outpatient clinic that I worked at, and they would show up with their knee replacement or their hip replacement, or they had just gotten their labral surgery done. And the problem was, the reason they had to have those surgeries is because they never recovered their core after they had babies. Maybe they didn't have their core working for them before they had babies, but regardless, that's what happened. So they didn't have their core working, so we would fix their core. And, but the focus of them coming, it was in like an insurance-based clinic. So really, I couldn't do much more than just fix the knee or the hip that was operated on. Insurance wasn't going to pay for me to like rehab their core. That wasn't their problem. Now we would try to touch on pieces of their core, but, it was just a huge missing link. And it's a huge reason I went into practice for myself. And it's a big reason why I started the mission of helping women heal their bodies after pregnancy. It was so that they could live these long lives without having to go under the knife for knee pain and hip pain and chronic back pain. And then at the end of the day, those women are the ones that turn into the old women with hip fractures, bent over at the grocery store, can't stand up straight, with osteoporosis, and end up in a wheelchair in diapers in the nursing home. And when you have a diaper and you don't move much, you end up with pressure sores and wounds end up killing us, right? So it's graphic, but that is the soliloquy that led me down the life of making sure that women heal their bodies after babies. And so that's really how the business started. Then I realized, and that's why I wrote Restore Your Body After Kids, the secret to avoid peeing your pants and achy joints as you age. So got that done. And then I really realized in my scheme of practice, I was like, there is so much we can do to protect people's cores when they are pregnant and as they go through the birthing process. And that's why I developed the Body Motion birth preparation protocols. That's why we have our pregnancy support package. And it's why I went all in on writing the book Pregnancy Era, the secret to tear-free birth and fast postpartum recovery. And I wrote that to share a lot of the secret sauce in prepping your body during your pregnancy to not only be pain-free during pregnancy, but to be ready to have a delivery so the baby can come out of your body through your vagina. And if that doesn't work out, even if they come through your belly and you've done all the core work, your experience and your healing patterns and your healing time is going to be much faster. And so so that's really where that led me. And then, of course, I just don't stop. And I had to go back through the fertility journey and realize we were really helping people during their, conception journeys. So we started to dive into helping people with fertility. And I kind of, this is a little backwards, but essentially I had a slew of patients that I was helping during their postpartum recovery. And by no means were they hoping to conceive. And yet they were coming for pelvic floor therapy, and with the abdominal work we were doing with the visceral manipulation and with their pelvic floor, they were just very fertile, and so they ended up conceiving. And that led me to being like, oh my gosh, everything we do is making this perfect platform for fertility. And so we started helping women through the fertility process and have amazing results. We also use some regenerative tools now in the clinic that have been absolutely epic in helping people conceive. And so that's been just a ton of fun. But really, this business has completely mirrored, so my business, Body Motion, has just completely mirrored my personal life, my personal evolution, my personal development, and it's been a ton of fun, and this is completely my passion. I believe I was put on this planet to make an impact in the lives of women. There's no doubt about that I want women to live these healthy lives and avoid things like hip replacements and knee replacements and back surgeries. And really, the more that we can get women to thrive, the better society is going to be, duh. But I just truly believe that. I believe that we are the powerhouses, of this world. And I love men too, but like there is something so amazing that when women are thriving, how good communities can be, how good this world can be, how amazing families can be. And when we have that, like the world starts to heal, and we have these beautiful colonies of communities and souls living in these bodies that can thrive and be fulfilled and make a difference and just continue to improve humanity. So that's what we're doing here. And that's why when I tell you that this business has completely reflected my life, now I am postpartum 3 years and we aren't planning to have any more children. My husband has a vasectomy. He got it. It was his decision, not mine. I was not for the vasectomy, if you will. I wasn't necessarily for more children, but I wasn't for the vasectomy. It was a heartache process of him getting snipped. I was definitely very sad, probably very mad, not probably. I was mad. But, it's his body, and he decided that for him. So, but, he never got his sperm checked or the semen checked after he had that vasectomy. So there's side note, a secret part of my soul that's you could still heal and you could still be producing sperm and we could have another baby. I ain't mad about it, but no, for all intensive purposes, we are not planning to have more children. However, I am now on this complete and utter journey to live the life that I want to be able to help inspire other women to lead. And that is just a complete and utter control of my health and wellness journey. Investing in your health, you never regret investing in your health. When you're sick, you will spend every single ounce of your paycheck and your dime to get yourself healthy and better. And I want to just be preventing as much as I can. Now, are there things as part of health that we can't control all the time? Sure. Cancer, certain illnesses, we don't have control over that. But what we do have control of, I want to take control of. And therefore, I am committed to my strengthening. I'm committed to my mobility work. Well, I could be more committed to my mobility work. I'm committed to my recovery work. How about that? And I'm committed to my walking and cardio routines. And I'm committed to my nutrition. I haven't always been committed to my nutrition. Nutrition is the hardest thing, I think, for me to be consistent and disciplined with. But for the last year, I've really showed up for myself in that department. Having a coach has been game-changing for me as far as nutrition goes, and just having to be accountable and take my damn near naked pictures every single week and send them in an email to him to map my progress. Now, am I super glad I've done that? Absolutely, hands down, because having these pictures to share to share for myself and to map my progress has been epic. Did I absolutely despise them in the beginning? Yes. Do I stare at them now sometimes? Absolutely, because I'm like, damn, that's my body. But that's just been part of the journey. So I digress a little bit, but now I'm on this not extreme. I'm just on this wellness and health journey. And I am trying to be the healthiest version of myself, and I want to inspire other women to be the healthiest version of themselves. And on my journey, like I mentioned in the last episode, having pelvic floor therapy and pelvic floor physical therapy it's a non-negotiable. If you followed along this journey for a while, I have a bladder prolapse. I very well may have a uterine prolapse, so where the cervix starts to descend. And if that's the case, the reason I say I very well may, it's because I do have a uterine prolapse. But everyone that works for me, that when they work on me, I'm like, just don't tell me. I don't want to know. Because the reality is right now I'm asymptomatic. I can do everything in my life, and I plan to keep it that way. And so one of the reasons I was really committed to shedding some pounds was because it helps the prolapse. It takes the pressure off the prolapse. I carry a lot of my body weight as fat in my belly. And when you carry a lot of weight in your belly, it's just a lot more pressure on your pelvic organs. And that was definitely the case for me. So that was a big motivating factor to lose some of it, to lose some of that abdominal weight. So to take the pressure off the bladder, take the pressure off the uterus. So I'm in this constant, like, let's keep my organs inside my body. Let's keep my pelvic health super good so that as I'm getting older, my core is just epically strong and balanced. Therefore protecting my hips and protecting my knees and my back. And so that's the life that I am honestly just I want other people on this train with us. And that's what as far as like body motion goes, and like what I do with body motion therapy, physical therapy, is that like, that's what we're selling. Like, we can tell you all day that like you can fix your incontinence and you can fix your hip pain, and absolutely that's an easy fix. But what I want for all the people and humans that walk this earth is I don't want it to just be like one and done. I want your core functioning for you for your entire life. I want this to be that you are so epically conditioned that you don't ever feel pain in your hips and your knees. And if you do, it gets fixed right away. It's amazing how much your knee can get better when you just fix your pelvis and your pelvic floor. So that's the journey. And this episode was completely about thriving through midlife. And now here I am talking to you all about the journey of body motion. And so I am still going to dive into thriving through midlife because I love talking about it. But I do think that it's important for you to realize like how this business has come full circle. And as I go myself through perimenopause and menopause, I am just going to keep sharing. I'm going to keep sharing the tidbits and wellness tools that you can keep integrating into your life so you can live the life that you want. And all that good stuff. Does it mean that we are not still epically changing the game in how we prep women for childbirth? Heck no. We are absolutely, here we are, thriving through midlife, setting ourselves up for like the ultimate health and longevity. I'm going to talk health behaviors from nutrition, cardiovascular health, lifting weights, and really, preventing chronic pains as we age. Our health is so much in our control. And if you're listening to this episode, it's because you believe that too. You believe that our health is within our control. And, like I said, when you're sick, you'll spend every dollar you have to get out of sickness. And we want to beat that. There are so many health hacks that you will find online, from walking 10,000 steps a day, which you absolutely should do, to fasting. And, some of the stuff about fasting, which is just so trendy, right? Be in ketosis, be on a ketogenic diet, but fasting can be completely separate where you have autophagy and, get rid of some of those cells. And yes, I understand the science, and fasting can be absolutely beneficial. Definitely caloric restriction is absolutely beneficial as far as decreasing inflammation goes. But one of the really cool things when we look at Dr. Stacy Sims, you can check her out on Instagram. But she is one of the first researchers to start actually looking at like the female bodies and how we respond to things like fasting or things like cold therapy or sauna. And she actually says that the women's bodies are, to optimize them, especially through midlife, that women should not fast. Now, this is different. I believe the research is different if you are overweight or have more inflammation. Fasting can be beneficial for that subgroup of people. But as far as like optimizing health and wellness, fasting is not recommended, according to some of the research that she's studied. And breaking a fast first thing in the morning with a protein is really great because that can send a signal to our brain that helps drop cortisol levels. And I'm not going to go into all the hormones here, and cortisol can get a really bad rap, but we absolutely need cortisol as it keeps us healthy. But excessive amounts and excessive amounts of stress, which can lead to excessive amounts of cortisol, can definitely lead to a less healthy life and an increase in visceral fat, and all that stuff that we usually want to avoid. So that's why cortisol, the hormone, gets a really bad rap. But to help really keep that cortisol in check, a great thing to do is to eat at least a protein first thing in the morning. And if you're going to be doing a cardio exercise, to do a protein and a carb. Now, if your goal is weight loss, maybe a protein is just sufficient. Everybody's body is different too, and you should find out for your body what is going to be the most beneficial. I started lifting weights when I was 15, and when I was a camper at Minnesota hockey camps. I actually wasn't a camper, I worked there. My parents couldn't afford to send me to hockey camp, so I got a job there, and it was such a great experience. And I started lifting every single morning at 5 a.m. and I would lift fasted, and I got strong. I developed good muscles. Would I have been more effective if I had, a protein shake on board? Maybe. But I ate afterwards. I feel like sports nutrition has come such a long way. After I had my babies, I also worked out fasted. I just couldn't eat before I worked out because I'm a worker outer at 5 a.m. 4:30 to 5 a.m. is kind of like my peak time to get it in. And I, now if I'm going to do a heavy leg workout at 5 a.m., I do try to get a protein shake on board before. I'll mix it into my coffee at 4:30. So like 30 minutes before I lift. And that's just because I am really trying to grow my muscles. And, that's like what's important to me right now and what I'm valuing. But, you got to find out what works for your body. And, after I heard Dr. Stacy Sims really talk about that cortisol and eating before a workout, especially for muscle development, I decided that I would commit to taking, to doing a protein powder at least before my lifts. And so one of the other aspects of health, so I'm kind of just taking you through some of my own health parameters, and then we're going to dive into some specific things that you can do for yourself. But one thing I think that's great, especially as a starting block, if you're like, I am a clean slate, I need a new health routine, I think a great thing to do is to start with getting a DEXA scan. A DEXA scan is a scan that shows you bone density. It shows you the amount of adipose tissue you have, shows you the amount of lean mass that you have as far as muscle and bone go. And so that's a great test. We have a truck that comes to our Edmonds location once a month. It's called Body Spec. We are in no way affiliated with them other than we're just like a host site. So I get a free scan every time I host them. But as far as, so what a great kickback, right? But no, everything I bring to this business, I bring because I selfishly want it here. That was the same with radial pressure shockwave. That's the same with the red light therapy. It's the same with our providers. I knew I needed pelvic floor therapy for the rest of my life, so I couldn't be my own physical therapist. So I had to hire people and build a team. Like, it's all been, I guess you would say, a selfish pursuit, but also the pursuit that once I've identified that this is what is needed for a healthy living and healthy lifestyle, I've just brought into the business. Anyways, I digress. DEXA scan, check it out. You can look at Body Spec for their Edmonds locations. Maybe we should get a location in Poolsville once a month. That would be easy to do. Maybe I'll check that out. If you have comments or you have opinions on that, drop that in the comments. And we will definitely look into it and see how we can support you getting a test near you. So from a nutrition aspect, I wanted to give you some stats. So we're going to dive into a little bit about nutrition now. And we'll continue this conversation, especially if you guys find this interesting. But I just get so many DMs on Facebook and on Instagram, and then a lot of people texting me like, "What are you doing? What are your macros? How do you eat? Are you keto? Are you on Ozempic? Are you on this? Are you on that?" No. Do I check my do I count my macros? Absolutely, yes. I tried the world of intuitive eating, and it was not for me. That's when I kind of gained my 100 pounds, and I have a firm belief that the reason I can't do intuitive eating is because genetically I'm just a badass and I'm a survivor, and my body would just keep eating because it's getting ready for battle 24/7. And so that's why intuitive eating hasn't worked for me. I might just not be good at it. But I feel like part of my journey is my spiritual journey and my spiritual path. And with that, I've gotten very in touch with my soul desire and being, and with my intuition. So, I don't want to discount that. And I know intuitive eating can work for many people, but for my body, it was not successful. And does it mean I won't try again? No. But I definitely don't want to let myself, gain the 100 pounds of intuitively eating boxes of donuts, because that's what, feels good. Right now I know when I am doing my macros, and I know what makes my body tick and makes my body feel good. And it's definitely protein. Asparagus and Brussels sprouts and cabbage are on that list too, guys. Those are kind of my go-to feel-good vegetables. I don't love asparagus, but what it does for my body it's just amazing. It's insane. Really, truly. I don't even like to use that word because I know that can be offensive to some people. But it's so good. So from a nutrition aspect, I wanted to throw some stats out there. 45 to 50% of women over the age of 40 are protein deficient. So that's like half the population of women are protein deficient. So no wonder, and actually the protein deficiency increases with age. So you become more deficient as you age. So it just means that like the older you get, like the less protein you're eating. So 50% of women over the age of 40 are protein deficient. That means they're not building their muscles. That means that their bones are getting weak, and that's leading to osteoporosis if they're not getting enough protein. So hands down, get your protein. The average 40-year-old needs 90 to 120 grams of protein per day just for maintaining muscle mass and bone health and hormone regulation. So if you are trying to grow your muscles, you need more than that. You probably need 2 grams of protein per lean body mass. So definitely be aware of that. Start to really realize how many grams of protein are in your beans, are in your, whatever you're eating, in your chicken, what's, in your salad tonight, how many grams of protein is that? Okay, maybe you got 20, but is that enough? Let's get more. Find a protein powder you like. I know that's more of a synthetic protein and not as high quality of a protein as far as a meat or beans would go. But absolutely start to check this stuff out, because we need protein in order to build our muscles, and especially to maintain our muscles and our bone density. So symptoms of protein deficiency in women are muscle loss and weakness, difficulty building muscle atrophy, generalized weakness, fatigue and low energy, weight changes, so unexplained weight gain or a really difficult time losing weight, protein deficiency, hair and nail issues, mood changes, increase in hunger. These are all signs of protein deficiency. Let me tell you that these are all signs of menopause. These are all symptoms people report in menopause too. So just take that with you, okay? Maybe part of this situation of going through menopause and perimenopause is we just need some more protein. Now, I know there's other factors, and I know, using synthetic hormones or bioidenticals can be a great thing for people, and I will probably pull someone on this podcast to get an interview so we can talk more specifically about what hormone therapy looks like, because I do think that there's a role for that, especially, there is a role, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But check it out. Increase your protein, improve your symptoms. So I just think tracking your micronutrients is your macronutrients, so your protein, your fat, and your carbs, is just super important. And I use MyFitnessPal. I use the paid version, which is like $79 a year. But you can use any tool, and you don't have to use the paid version. I just use it for convenience, quite frankly. It's just one of those little accountability measures that can make you continue to reinvest in your plan and help you be more disciplined. So maybe you'll take something away for that. If that doesn't vibe with you, just leave it. I'm just telling you and sharing what I've done and what's supporting me through this like perimenopause phase at this moment. Another pillar of health that I touched on earlier that I think is an absolute amazing asset, and there's a ton of research about walking 10,000 steps a day and increasing your longevity. And in this day and age, when we spend so much time sitting almost becomes toxic to our health, and can completely lead to chronic pain. One of the main reasons that sitting is so toxic is it turns our glutes completely off. So when our glutes are shut down, everything else becomes dysfunctional. Our pelvic floors get super tight. We all of a sudden become super imbalanced. We'll have hip pain, knee pain, back pain. So if your glutes aren't working for you, it's hard to live a healthy life. It's hard to be pain-free. So we need our glutes to work for us. If our glutes aren't working for us, you can guarantee that your pelvic floor is messed up. And that means that your core is messed up. And that just leads down this path of pain and dysfunction. So a lot of times after pregnancy, our glutes will atrophy because we lose our hip extension. You lose hip extension during pregnancy just based on how the pelvis shifts and changes. And so that's one of the things that you really want to work hard to get back is that glute activation, get your hip extension back. I'm still working on getting my hip extension back 3 years later, but I have been building my glutes for the last 3 years as my primary focus to really help support my core and my pelvic floor health. And so, yeah, that's what I got for you there. As far as other issues other pelvic issues that can occur when you don't have good glute function is you can end up having incontinence, and that can lead to, you can also have really a hard and contracted pelvic floor that doesn't work well, can lead to pelvic organ prolapse, constipation, hemorrhoids, again, hip pain, back pain, knee pain. So we want to get our glutes working. And also, the more our glutes work, the less likelihood of osteopenia, osteoporosis, because then you get better function and better forces through those femurs and through the head of the femur as well. We'll probably dive into the osteopenia. It's super common in women at the knees, at the hips, in the spine. And nutrients are a super important factor in this. So ensuring that we are getting vitamin D, that we're getting calcium, that we're getting vitamin K. All of those are super important in getting our bone health. Now, you should talk to your primary care doctor about your supplements that you're taking, but most likely, especially in the postpartum phase, because we've seen an uptick in postpartum fractures. But when any woman has a bone fracture, I automatically feel like they should have a bone density scan, and I'm not sure why that's not a thing that we do, but you absolutely should get a bone density scan if you have had a fracture, because we want to know how are our bones? Are they strong enough, or are we on the path to osteopenia? And do we need to change our supplementation? Do we need to change our nutrition? Do we need to change how we're loading our bones? Get this stat. The incidence of hip fractures is significantly higher in women than in men, with women accounting for approximately 72 to 77% of cases worldwide. Does that not just light you up? Why are women fracturing their hips way more than men? Seriously, though, because hip fractures lead to death, okay? So this is a big deal. And pelvic floor work and pelvic floor therapy and getting your pelvis and your hips working is, I think, the ticker for your exercises being effective for increasing your bone density and for your workouts to actually be effective in general, right? Glutes are underutilized, then we don't get the normal movement of the hip sockets, and so it's hard to load the bones. You get more of your bone thinning that way. And other benefits of 10,000 steps a day is mental health support, reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, the reduced risk of cancer, stroke, heart failure. Also aids in weight management and helps boost aerobic capacity if you get more than 10,000 steps a day. And if you get 7,500 steps per day, suggests a lower risk of premature death. Isn't that cool? Love that. I like that stat. So yeah, that was a fun stat. I just want to throw that out there. And I think that the biggest thing, if you can take away from this episode, I know it was a little bit like all over the place, but one of the biggest things that I think you should take away is get yourself an accountability tool. And if you get, I know it can sound like, it can feel like so much. Like, you're telling me I have to work on my pelvic floor health, then I need to start lifting weights, then I gotta do cardio, oh, and I need to make sure that my nutrition is on track and I'm checking all these boxes, and I need to walk 10,000 steps a day. Oh, and I should do some good recovery. I should get shockwave therapy. I should do red light therapy, sauna. No, like, you don't have to do all that. And I know that's so much. I'm telling you, for optimal health, the more you do, the better you're gonna feel, the better your longevity, your health, your vitality, all of it. And just start with a few things. Like, it can feel like so much, or go all in. It's irrelevant to me. I'm just really wanting, I hope that somehow, some piece of this journey, some of these stats, whatever you glean help from. We didn't even talk about sleep. Like, oh, and you got to sleep 6 to 8 hours a day. I know. It's crazy. It's so much. But, however this can help you in any way pursue your health and your longevity, I truly hope that for you. And so hopefully you found this episode valuable. It's been a total blast to be here with you, and I hope you found this information valuable. I'm excited to be on this podcast and chatting more with you and giving you guys this information so you can live your best possible lives. We will bring in experts in different fields. We will start to explore other aspects of health that we need to start to consider. This is going to be your one-stop shop for your lifestyle, your wellness, your spiritual journeys, and so much more. So I'm super pumped that you're here, and I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my voice. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Apple and Spotify, and we'll be here for you. And I hope you're here for yourself. I'm Dr. Allison Feldt. Thanks for joining me.